We're going to truncate that debate, actually, because we have the leader of the Brexit party, Nigel Farage, who you may have just seen speaking in central London at the launch of his roster of prospective parliamentary candidates, who joins us from that launch, actually, as you see. Nigel Farage, welcome to you. A full roster. You're going to contest every parliamentary seat, are you?
Yeah, that's the plan. We've got 635 candidates on the approved list. We're ready to fight every seat in the country. We just don't trust the Labour and Conservative parties. They've let us down since 2016 dreadfully. They've broken their promises. And we've got people here from every walk of life, most of whom have never been involved in politics before, because we want Brexit delivered.
Have they found it easy to stand as prospective parliamentary candidates? Because sometimes, employers will say, well, if you want to pursue a political career, that's fine. Not all big businesses smile on the Leave project. What are their stories?
Yeah, you're right. It's very difficult for people from the corporate world to do this. But we've got, a big range of people. We've got nurses, we've got doctors, we've got sort of a lot of ex-forces people standing for us. We've got entrepreneurs. But most of our business people that are standing for us are people that run their own small businesses, and they've got their own freedom of choice. You're quite right. In much of the corporate world, to say you're going to stand for the Brexit party in the general election would not be very popular.
No. I mean, some of them will worry, though, won't they, that they're taking a big risk potentially, and it may be the case that, for all you've said, it's not going to happen. If there is no deal, and we do leave on the 31st, then we can look at a situation where actually they may not be needed because you'll have entered into a pact with the Conservatives.
I tell you what, if I announce today we're closing down the Brexit party because we trust the Conservative Party, the chances of us leaving on the 31st of October on a clean break Brexit will be hovering at around about zero. The Conservative Party on their own cannot be trusted. It was outside pressure that made them pledge to keep the pound. It was outside pressure that made them pledge to have a referendum on EU membership. It's exactly the same position today. Theresa May, during her term as Prime Minister, did not face any electoral threat from a genuinely Eurosceptic party. Boris Johnson now does, and he knows it.
I mean, there are lots of Leavers who say they understand that you've held his feet to the fire, but if you contest seats against Conservatives, we'll get a Jeremy Corbyn government. Is that really what you want?
Well, I've heard all this before. Don't forget, there are 5 million Labour voters out there who voted for Brexit, now completely betrayed by a Labour Party that is a Remain second referendum party. And if you look at, South Wales, the Midlands, the north of England, you see constituency after constituency that voted Leave with the Remain Labour MP. So no, we're going to hit the Labour vote hard too. But I will say this, if Boris Johnson does do the right thing and does go for a clean break Brexit, then not only will we applaud that, we will want to support and help that project. We want to talk to them and come to an accommodation. So we're quite prepared to put country before party. And everybody in that room, there are over 500 candidates here in London today, everyone in the room knows that. We are motivated in the Brexit party, not by political careers. We're motivated in getting things done.
Do you accept that Boris Johnson has given the position whose values, most of which you adhered to, a shot in the arm? That where there was drift, he's created grip. Where there was entropy, there is now direction. And a lot of your prospective parliamentary candidates will, perhaps a little bit grudgingly, say, Nigel, he's doing a decent job. He's doing a much better job, for instance, than his predecessor.
Yeah, well, they all told me after the Lancaster House speech, Nigel, pack your bags, go home, it's done and dusted, we're leaving the European Union, the Prime Minister is utterly committed, and look what happened. And just for a moment, and by the way, I agree, I think Johnson has brought energy, optimism. I mean, it couldn't have been worse, I guess, than it was before, but there's a lot of positives about his style, his way of doing things. But bear this in mind. Twice Boris Johnson voted against the new European Treaty, the withdrawal agreement. He did so saying, that it would entrap us, it would enslave us, it was a disastrous deal for Britain. And then, on the third time of asking, he voted for it. So there is a big question. Not just can we trust the Conservative Party, clearly we can't on its own, can we trust Boris Johnson? Maybe the threat of the Brexit party, maybe the realisation that if he goes back to the withdrawal agreement, he has got no chance of winning outright the next general election. Maybe we can just concentrate his minds and get the result that we want.
There is no version of the withdrawal deal, is there, that you would support? I mean, obviously the backstop goes, that's a given, but are there modifications to the trade elements that you would actually smile upon?
Well, there are no trade elements other than its intention through the withdrawal agreement and the political declaration to keep us locked inside the customs union in perpetuity. That's the ambition of Monsieur Barnier. It'll be very difficult to break out of it. It won't take back our territorial waters. It'll cost us 39 billion. It'll mean the ECJ has jurisdiction here for a minimum period of 8 years. There's no other way of looking at this than the worst deal in history.
Slightly left field question, but not very far from where you stand. At Church House today, this conference has been organised looking at how to block a no deal. There are some people in the papers today, not least Ian Duncan-Smith, who is beginning to question the role of the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, who he perceives to be becoming politically impartial where there ought to be political impartiality. Do you echo those comments from Ian Duncan-Smith?
I've been critical of the Archbishop of Canterbury for over 2 years. He has consistently intervened in the Brexit debate. I mean, even giving Christmas messages about how depressed the country is because of Brexit. He is playing an overtly political game. No wonder my church, the Church of England, is in as much trouble as it is.
Nigel Farage, thanks very much.
Thank you.
This is Sky News Today. Coming up, the British Indian footballers who aren't letting racist abuse stop